Weapons have a way of doing that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I got that out now.
So the Screeling leapt at Zedd, and it knocks him to the ground. He's like weaving webs all the whole time, trying to keep the claws at bay, and Chase smacks it in the dome with the six-bladed mace.
Wildly effective.
Yeah, it works. It doesn't knock it out. It just, like, gets his attention again. It spins towards Chase, which allows him to do the pie-cutting move you were just talking about.
Yes.
That knocks it off its head, but then it jumps onto Chase. Like, it just moves victims. So, it doesn't help a whole lot.
Right. Well, it sounds like this thing's flesh just, it's not hindered by pain. So you can cut its flesh and it really doesn't matter.
Right. So, Rachel, at this point, steps in because Zedd still has the wind knocked out of him, and Chase is obviously in distress, and apparently the soldiers are nowhere near them. They're all occupied, I guess. So, Rachel steps in with her fire stick and sets the thing ablaze because she's got balls.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'm sure that the soldiers were busy. It was written that way in the book, but you can picture that. All of these soldiers who have no idea what this thing is, who have never dealt with something like this, as far as we know, other than maybe a Shinga or two. You know, just a little demon, no big deal.
Little things.
But they've never seen anything like this, so they're hesitant to go after it. Whereas, again, we have this little girl, Rachel, who is intent on proving her braveness to her new dad. Is like, fuck yeah, I got a fire stick. I'm going to go screw that thing up. Well, and she's the first one to lead the charge.
Well, and also probably like, nope, fuck you. You're not going to take away my dad. Like, I just got one.
Right.
So, no.
I have a good one now. You're not going to take that from me.
So Zedd tries to help her and push it with his air into the water. It doesn't work. The Screeling keeps, like, hold on Chase. Like, it's got his shirt. It's like, haha, I'm anchored. Fuck you.
It's got big claws. Unfortunately, he can hang on to shit really, really well.
Yes. Chase, though, is not panicking at all, apparently. He just whacks it in the back with his six-bladed mace and knocks it into the pool.
I imagine that your attitude changes just a little bit once you're hanging on to a six-bladed mace. I think your confidence level has nowhere to go but up after that.
Yeah. I can't imagine having a flaming, laughing, clawing thing on my chest. I mean, like, I got you, and just knocking it. I couldn't be that calm. No way.
Nerves of steel. You would have to.
So, steam rises up out of the pool, and then Zedd ignites the air, sucking the warmth out of the water and freezing it with the Screeling in place.
Okay, so when we read this earlier, I was a little confused. At first, I thought he had sucked all the heat out of the water and, like, made an explosion above the water to attack the Screeling. When, in fact, that's not what it is at all.
No.
The Screeling falls into the water. Zedd heats the air above the water, sucking all of the warmth out of the water, turning the water to ice and freezing the Screeling in there.
Yeah, the explosion or whatever above the water has nothing really to do with what he's trying to do.
I think that's just the tipping point of having too much heat in the air.
Right.
Because you're pulling it out of that. But it goes right along with what we know about additive magic. That has to go somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. You can gather heat, you can gather wind, but it has to come from somewhere and it has to go somewhere. You can't just make things disappear like you can with subtractive magic.
Right, he couldn't just make cold appear in the water.
Right, exactly. He couldn't just touch it and turn it into an ice Screeling cube.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
He had to move the heat as opposed to creating cold.
Exactly. Cheers, Jim.
Thanks. So, immediately, everything goes quiet, except for the moans of the injured. Super great soundtrack. Rachel asks Chase if he's okay, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine. Zedd tells him to go sit on a bench off to the side so she doesn't see all the carnage. He's really just trying to get Chase to sit the fuck down because he is injured and he needs to chill until somebody can see to him.
This is a point here, too, where the difference in narrator really stuck out. I know that in this book, you don't hear Chase being so winded like maybe Ch.2 would have done. Yeah. So when Rachel is like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "That I am, child." Whereas before, he would have been like, worn the fuck out, which I would imagine when Zedd goes, "Chase, sit down." And he'd be like, just nod his head, breathing heavily. "Yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. You do your thing, wizard. I'm going to just sit here for a minute."
Right. I will do that. Cool. I wasn't going to, but I will.
Before my heart explodes, I am going to just take a minute.
So at this point, the soldiers and the commander run up to Zedd, and they ask if there's anything he can do for the people who are still alive. He tells them he's going to see what he can do. And in the meantime, they need to hack that Screeling to bits.
Yeah.
Before it can melt the ice. And the commander's like, "It's still alive? That's creepy, but cool, we'll do that." It's like a Screeling Encino Man. Right?
Encino Man?
Yeah, Encino Man. So instead of melting it nicely and being careful like you would with like Encino Man, he melted nicely, he came back to life, everything was cool. They have to hack it in the ice, like you're hacking apart ice cubes, like Screeling cubes, for your rum and coke, and do it that way before he melts.
So you're talking about cutting a line through instead of around. That's all it is.
Like when you dip a rose in dry ice, you wanna explode all the little pieces so it can't come back.
Yeah, okay, I follow you.
Yeah, this is why you choose the big guys to help.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Chase, you all rested up, buddy?
Yeah, we need you.
You need to lift something now.
Well, actually, Daharans apparently are bigger than Chase. So...
Oh, that's true.
Let's let them handle it.
Hey, you unnamed fellows who are very big.
The commander asks Zedd what that thing was. He tells him it was a Screeling, and the commander is like, "What the fuck?" And Daharans don't show fear, so it's kind of a big deal.
And the other thing Jade and I talked about earlier was it was weird that this guy wanted more information on the Screeling at first. And it comes from the underworld and give me all the details. And we're like, why does he care? It's not a magic thing. But then we reconsidered. This guy is the general of the army. And on top of that, he's the commander of this first file, which is the Lord Rawl's personal defense.
Right.
This thing made it into his territory. Yeah. Coming after it came after them, but can we assume it was here for Richard?
Well, either way, this is his territory.
That's true. Either way, it was here, and it posed a threat to him. And these guys let it get there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the threat is ended for now until they chop it up. But no, it makes total sense that he wants to know what this thing is, and if there's anything he can do to prevent it.
Yeah. At this point, Zedd lets us know that everything that happened in the last book did indeed happen yesterday. Like, the Dark and Rawl dying happened this morning.
Yeah.
So this was a big day.
Yeah. So there might have been an hour or so in between the books where nothing was written, but really, as far as we know, in the last book, Richard and Kahlan take off on the dragon with everybody to go take care of stuff, and this immediately happens.
Yeah, they walk here. Well, I think they eat, and then they walk here. Like, that's literally all that happens.
Yeah, they leave, they go get dinner, and then they come to the Garden of Life where this all takes place.
Yes. And Zedd is tired, to say the least. He's had enough of today.
I mean, he didn't get his nap in, you know?
No. He asks, at this point, too, actually, I bet you he's probably hungry as hell. He probably wants another dinner.
Yeah.
So Zedd asks the commander's name. He says he's Commander General Trimac of the First File. They are the Ring of Steel around Lord Rawl, 2,000 strong, who will die for him without question. Now, I am going to just mention real quick, there is a Facebook group called The First File.
Yes. Yep.
They started like a while ago. I believe there was a book release that had a group, and then from that group, The First File formed as like his most dedicated fans or whatever. I don't know if they're technically the most dedicated, but I think that was the idea. They're the ring around Terry.
It was like the original Facebook group.
Yes. And I did share a podcast there. So if any of you are here because of that, hi.
Awesome. And good on you.
Either way, I thought it was a really cool, like, idea that We're the first file of Terry.
Oh, hell yeah. I think there's more than a couple thousand, though.
Yeah. So, Zedd tells Commander Trimac that he needs to keep his mouth fucking shut about the Screeling and everything he knows about it.
Hey, so, you know that thing that everybody just saw? You didn't see that, okay?
Yeah. If anyone asks you if I told you what it was and if I knew, you tell them no, we're all dumb.
There was a training accident?
Yeah. He asks if the dude knows Darkin is dead, and Trimac says, yeah, I was watching earlier when Richard did the thing with the dragon. Zedd asks if he's going to serve Richard like he did Darkin, and Trimac's like, is he a Rawl? Does he have magic? Cool. I got no problems then. We're great.
Twofold, he is supposed to be in charge here. Either he killed the king. I know he's not the king. The Master Rawl. He killed the master, so therefore he is the master. And on top of that, he is also the heir to the throne. So either way, it's him.
And Zedd is like, hey, but he's not going to be easy to serve under. He's kind of headstrong. And Trimac's like, have you met any of the Rawls before? They're not exactly easy guys to work with.
Yeah, Darkin was a peach. Don't even get me started on penis. Panis. Dang it. Panis.
Zedd blabs some more about Richard's paternity before having a conversation with him.
He's grandpa bragging.
Yeah, he brags about his grandson. Like, he's been waiting for Richard's whole... He's like, I've been waiting like 30 years. I'm gonna... Did you see him? He rode a dragon.
You see him riding a dragon earlier?
Also,
That's
I think he might have fucked that dragon.
He might have fucked a dragon. Careful. He does that sometimes, so I wouldn't piss him off. But, I mean, they obviously already have to know. Otherwise, why would they be taking orders from him?
Right. And, I mean, that's, like, he's explaining something that Trimac already knows at this point, because he just said he's a Rawl. Like, duh. But he's like, he's my grandson, too, so this is great.
Wow, look at my grandson. Did you see my grandson over there?
Yeah.
My grandson is awesome. You've met my grandson, right? I get it, Zedd.
Yeah.
He's your grandson. You see his dragon?
He said, also, he has no idea about any of this, and he probably also will hate the idea of being a ruler, but, you know, you need to serve him well. Trimac says he would give his life for him, and Zedd's like, no, you don't understand. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I literally just said, give him understanding. So, understanding would be better than your life.
Right. He's not going to be like the guys that have been in charge before. He's not going to ask you for your life.
Yeah.
He doesn't need that or want that. He just wants you to be real chill while he figures all this out. Because, you know, I'm not going to tell him.
Yeah. Because, yeah, it might come down to you being like, hey, you're my boss. And him being like, no, I'm not. And you being like, yeah, you are.
Because we learned from the first book that keeping secrets from everybody always turns out awesome.
Yeah, that's the general idea. So Trimac says that Richard needs to serve them also. They are the steel against the steel, but Lord Rawl is the magic against the magic. So he will serve Lord Rawl every day to a man with his life. But Rawl also has a responsibility. Richard Rawl, in this case.
Right. Yeah, he needs the people just as much as they need him. I think in this actual case, it's more talking about the soldiers, but I believe this is a broad thing. It's about the Dark and Raw and his people.
Yes, but it also is a little bit of like I don't know. It's something bigger is implied here because it says that without the steel, Richard might not survive. It's a maybe, okay? But without the magic, the people will not. So we don't know all about that, but it's implied that there is definitely something bigger happening with Lord Rawl and his people than we know. They're more intertwined than what we've been led to believe. Then he asks Zedd why a Screeling is out of the underworld. Like, that's probably not great. And Zedd tells him Darkin was fucking with some magic that was kind of dangerous. He probably shouldn't have been messing with. And he kind of tore the veil.
Yeah, great.
Trimac tells him he was a stupid head. And he shouldn't have done that. And someone should have killed him.
Which is cool because these guys have a mind of their own. And It does go to show that Dark and Rawl, he was an evil bastard, but not everybody that worked for him was just as screwed up in the head as he was. These guys are just doing their job.
Right. They have a little bit of a conversation about how, well, that would have been